They'd never really thought about it this way, which is the reason why they consistently felt misunderstood or like they couldn't communicate effectively. Hey Driven Mofos, welcome back to another episode of The Underestimated Entrepreneur. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Michael Mojo. I'm the founder of Mojo Human Performance Institute. We focus on business, mindset, and lifestyle hacking for driven mofos. And the reason why I do these is because most people waste their life, and I just don't want you to be one of them. So let's get into this story. Now, this is a story that will probably change the way you communicate. It'll probably improve your relationships. It'll help you massively with management of staff. It will help you to be a better leader. In fact, I think it's a super hot tip anyway, but you know what? It's up to you to decide whether you agree with this or not. So I'm going to start with a story. What it was I was working with a manager and we were just talking, and I noticed that when they were talking, they would over communicate. And so I asked them, I said, do you feel like your points get across effectively? And they said, well, yeah, I guess I'm a pretty good manager. Like I've learned how to communicate, blah, blah, blah. And they went off on this big long story again. And I said, I'm going to just ask you a different way to think about this. So if I say to you, what color is the sky? And now you get to think about that and you get to respond. Now I'm going to ask it in a completely different way. And I'm going to start with a story first, because this is the way that most people communicate, which is the reason why they don't get their point across. So here's the story. So this morning I woke up and I walked outside and I looked up and I noticed that a bird was flying up. And as the bird was flying, I noticed that there were other birds flying around that bird. And so I kept looking up at the sky and I just started thinking about things. And I was thinking about work during the week and I was thinking about what I was doing. And I thought about, what I had to do for the day. And then as I was just looking up, I thought, wow, isn't that an interesting color? And I thought, what color really is the sky? Now, my question to you is, which way is the best way to communicate and get a point across? I hope you're all saying the first way, because the first way and the question that that person has is, what color is the sky? But what you'll find is the majority of people, when they communicate, will communicate with a fucking story first, which then creates confusion and stress. And you're just like, why is this person wasting my time? Get to the point. I don't really understand where they're going. And this is what happens to the person who's being communicated with. And so the communicator thinks that they're communicating effectively because they think if I start with a story first, then that person will understand where I'm coming from, so that when I give my point, then they'll understand. But the truth is, it actually fucking destroys the communication. The less you can say, the better the communication in most cases. Not in all cases. If you're telling a story or something like that, and that's what you're trying to do, then that's completely different. But if you're trying to ask a question, starting with a story before you get to the question is a really, really ineffective way of asking that question. Now, if you've ever been to my Thrive Time event, you'll hear me say to people consistently, and now I know this is a bit brutal, but this is the reason why I would say that I'm one of the top high performance coaches on the planet, because I don't let people tell a fucking story. They need to learn how to ask a question, because in their own mind, when they have problems, they reinforce the story and they spend more time in the story than they do asking a question which will help them to get past whatever problem it is. If you ask an effective question, you get an effective solution. If you ask an effective question, you get an effective answer. By telling a story, then reinforcing that story, and then thinking that you're being misunderstood, so you tell more stories, normally makes the communication 100 times worse. This is the reason why a lot of couples that I've worked with over the years will say things like, they just don't understand, or they don't listen to me, or they never really get where I'm coming from. But why would they when you're a shit communicator? Okay, it's feedback. And the feedback is, try and figure out how to get a point across with the least amount of words, because it normally gives the person time to think and then respond effectively. Now, if they're unclear and they're a good communicator, they'll ask more questions. So I'll give you an example. If someone says, what color's the sky? Now, if it's someone who's intelligent, they might say, well, it depends. What time of day are you looking at the sky? And that person might say, well, it's normally around lunchtime. What is the area that you're looking up at the sky? Is it in Adelaide? Is it in Perth? Is it in the US? Whereabouts is it? Because the sky color can change, right? So just by asking effective questions and giving precise answers, it will normally help to navigate the conversation really quickly and get to the point. And it will normally give you the most concise way of getting information. But what I find is that most people, they over communicate, which means that their communication is misunderstood. And when they're misunderstood, they think maybe I haven't explained it in enough detail. So then they go into more detail and more fucking stories, which then make the other person more confused. And then that becomes their strategy of communication. And the majority of people that I come across, from managers to business leaders to business owners, think the more I talk, the more I'm understood. And normally in most cases, it's the complete opposite. So driven mofos, I've got a bit of a challenge for you. I want to see if you're up for the challenge this week. hit me up on my socials. Send me a message and say, hey dude, I'm doing the challenge. And my challenge to you is this. I want to see if you can get through most of your communications throughout the week with just questions and precise statements and limit your stories. Let me know if you're up for the challenge. Hit me up on any of my social media platforms, Michael Mojo 00 on all social media platforms apart from Instagram, and you just need to change the zeros and the O's around. But if you type in Michael Mojo at the top of the search bar, you'll find me. Hit me up, send me a message. Let me know if you're up for the challenge. I would love to hear from you. Also, if you haven't already jumped across, we've just started our brand new Facebook group, which is called Driven Mofo Business Hacks. Hit us up on Facebook as well and join that group. It's a private group, but what we're doing is every day I'm delivering content to help business owners or to help people who are trying to grow a business or starting a business to perform at their best. And so every day I'm dropping content in there, Monday to Friday. We've even got some focus groups and stuff like that in there. So please check that out. It's Driven Mofo Business Hacks on Facebook. Hit us up, join the group, but also let me know if you're up for the challenge as well. I would love to hear from you. Anyway, Driven Mofos, remember, never underestimate the dream. And the reason why I do this is that most people waste their life and I just don't want you to be one of them. Anyway, take care and I look forward to seeing you in the Facebook group and also reading your messages when you shoot me a message and let me know when you're up for the challenge. Anyway, take care, Driven Mofos.